the boy just gave the model plane a gentle push. To his surprise, the little plane pushed the water bucket on the ground and slowly moved forward. This made the boy realize instantly that the little plane had come back to life. To verify his guess, he brought a ladder when the nanny wasn't looking, then tied the little plane to himself and went up to the roof. He imagined that the little plane could take him flying. Fortunately, his mother caught him in time. However, the small plane slipped and fell to the ground. Back inside the house, his mother scolded the boy severely and forbade him from touching the small plane again. She threw the small plane into the storage room and locked the door tightly. No matter how much the boy begged his mother, she refused to take it out again. However, just as the mother and son were arguing, the small plane suddenly flew in through the window and began crashing around the room. Seeing this, his mother grabbed a mop and tried to knock it down, but this only enraged the small plane. The next moment, the small plane's fuselage emitted a red light, causing his mother to scream in terror. The boy, frightened, clung tightly to his mother. However, strangely, the small plane's anger began to fade. Since his mother had been terrified by what had just happened, she had no choice but to allow the boy to bring the small plane back into the room. But afterwards, his mother was still worried, so she called her friend Mike and told him about the strange incident that had just happened. In order to find out the secret of the small plane, while the boy was fast asleep at night, they quietly took the strange small plane and carefully observed every detail on it. But strangely, there were no hidden switches on the outside of the small plane. Mike took out a small knife and tried to cut into the fuselage. Surprisingly, the plane's outer shell was as hard as rock. Even the sharp knife left no marks. Realizing something was off with the plane, Mike hurriedly took it back to the laboratory to conduct a thorough examination. However, to their great surprise, after a systematic scan, the internal structure of the small plane contains no electronic components. This puzzled them. They took the small plane to the hydraulic press, turned on the switch, and slammed it down on the small plane. To their surprise, after the test, the small plane was not only undamaged, but there wasn't even a single scratch on it. Meanwhile, the boy found out that the small plane had been taken away. In order to get the small plane back, he broke into the laboratory in the middle of the night. While Mike was on the phone with someone else, he quietly took the small aircraft and hid it. He had planned to find an opportunity to slip out later, but after Mike finished his call, he immediately noticed that the small aircraft was missing. Upon seeing someone hiding behind the cabinet, he immediately realized it was the boy stealing the aircraft. Just as he was about to approach and ask, the cabinet beside him suddenly shook violently and crashed into him. Taking advantage of the commotion, the boy sprinted toward the exit. But by then, Mike had already sounded the alarm, and the entire base quickly went on high alert. Fortunately, the boy had his father's work ID, and he ran all the way to the roof of the experimental base. At that moment, he made a reckless decision. He strapped the small plane to his body and climbed to the highest point of the base's roof. Miraculously, the small plane actually took off with the boy on board.